Have you ever had one of those mysterious interactions where it seems like the person you're talking to understands and even agrees with you, and then their behavior is the opposite of what they just committed to? What's often going on there is this week's theme that I'd like to talk about of emotional versus cognitive yes. When we have just our prefrontal cortex up here, the calculating brain involved, we can hear about the ROI of a decision and say, yes, that's true. That makes sense, but it doesn't usually drive our behavior until we're also integrating over here our limbic or emotional center, where we start to get excited. We feel it maybe even in our gut. That's what drives behavior. So, more often than not, in order to reach through and drive behavior with someone else, we have to find our way to the emotional yes instead of just the cognitive yes. And what can be extremely deceptive and terrifying in a lot of different roles, from sales to customer development in product design to daily interactions, is that we think we have achieved a yes, but that yes is actually a no because it doesn't drive behavior. And often people are just being polite. They're like, oh, yes, I love your business idea. I would buy that if you made that for sure. The actual time comes around that you've built that product and now they're not buying it. Well, that's because they didn't have an emotional yes. They just had a cognitive one. So I'd like to, for Monday, just read you a quick section from Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And he talks about the magical phrase that we refer to often here, which is, as you'll soon learn. Oh, I should probably tell you where we're at. This is chapter 5, Trigger the Two Words. He said, as you'll soon learn, the sweetest two words in any negotiation are actually, that's right. We want to create a subtle epiphany. And I'm going to go to the key lessons here section to give you some summary of this whole that's right section. But what I've learned with a lot of my coaching as an associate with Stephen Tomlinson, when we work with sales teams, is that the moment that you achieve a that's right in a conversation usually takes some work. You have to empathize, understand, be curious, and kind of really get the contours of how that person thinks about their challenge or problem. And then you get to land a statement that says, it sounds like you're trying to achieve X, but what's standing in the way is Y, and it matters because Z. And they say, that's right. Or they say, no, that's not it. It's more like this. So we have to do some prompting and discovery and work to get to shift from our statement being, it sounds like you need to make more money this year, to it sounds like you all have a massive cost cutting measure because your leadership doesn't know any strategies for increasing market. And so they're having to constrain on costs. But you think that's a bad idea because you have a really great market penetration idea that's very close by for what your product team is doing right now. You just can't seem to get the attention of those executives. And you might say, that's exactly right. That's the problem. That's an emotional response. It doesn't have to be the words, that's right, but it often is those words in American language. And you might hear them say, exactly, just like that, just so. I really do. We're looking for the fire in the eyes, the lean forward, and the emotional response from the gut. Okay, so let's look at the last bit of this chapter where he says key lessons. Sleeping in the same bed and dreaming different dreams is an old Chinese proverb that expresses the intimacy of partnership, whether in marriage or business, without the communication necessary to sustain it. Such is the recipe for bad marriages and bad negotiations. With each party having its own set of objectives, its own goals and motivations, the truth is that the conversational niceties, the socially lubricating yes and your rights that get thrown out fast and furious early in any interaction are not in any way a substitute for real understanding between you and your partner. The power of getting to that understanding and not to some simple yes is revelatory in the art of negotiation. The moment you've convinced someone that you truly understand her dreams and feelings, the whole world that she inhabits, mental and behavioral change becomes possible. And the foundation for a breakthrough has been laid. So as you go about your week, think about and assess when people are saying yes to you or that's true. as you're trying to get feedback or share your thoughts, is that really coming from an emotional spot or just from a cognitive spot? If it's only from a cognitive spot, you're unlikely to drive change. And you might have to chip away at your understanding and empathy of their point of view in order to land a statement that triggers a very powerful, that's right, an emotional yes.